Well, hello, my beautiful friend. This is your host, LeeAnne Hayden, coming to you with a solo episode this week. I have been on vacation for the last week. By the time you hear this, I will have been on vacation for 2 weeks, and it has felt absolutely amazing. I've completely shut down, definitely time that I needed for myself, but a few things that have happened to me over this last couple of weeks that I just wanted to share with you this week because regardless of the amount of time you're in an ostomy, body image is a big thing. And regardless of the amount of things that you can do with your body or the acceptance that you have, there may be moments where you are reminded of living in a bag, right? So you're reminded of that. So I wanted to bring you guys some of those this week. So get settled in and let's get talking about it. All right, so the first thing, right? We decided to get out of the cold after I was done with phase 1 of 75 hard. Said, that's it. We're getting out of this cold weather. And we decided to come down to Naples, Florida for a couple of weeks to unthaw. And it has absolutely been amazing. It was definitely a needed time away. But one of the things, I have a bunch of friends that live down here. So my girlfriend Lindsay and we got together a few times, and guys, I decided I wasn't lifting weights this vacation. I was going for nice long walks, and so Lindsay and I played tennis and then did a couple of spin classes, and all of that was great. Just normal, what I'm used to and everything. And then the house that we have has a pool. The house that we rented has a pool, so I've been laying out my bikini by the pool, floating in the pool, and just really relaxing. My son came down to visit for a few days, and he wanted to hit the beach. So I said, okay, yeah, let's go to the beach. Now, I've been to the beach before in my bathing suit, and I have beautiful bag covers that were made by April Wilson. So she does an amazing job on bag covers. And so I have my beautiful bag cover that matches my bathing suit, and my son and I go to the beach. And we park the car, I change, and I'm standing in line because we weren't sure if we were just going to walk or if we were going to go actually lay on the beach. So I went to change into my bathing suit, and I'm standing there in line, and I have my bathing suit in my hand and my bag cover in my hand. And even though it wasn't a big deal, internally in my mind, I'm like, oh, don't drop the bag cover. You don't want anybody to see that you're in a bag. Right? So that was going through my mind, guys, and it's been over 6 years, and I wear bathing suits, and you guys know what I've done. I've done fitness competition with it. I've gone to the beach before with my girlfriends, a group of us, and didn't even think twice about it. But for some reason, it was hitting me in the head this time. And so we walked, I changed, I put my shorts and my t-shirt back on, and we started walking down to the beach. And guys, this beach where we parked, it was like you had to walk a mile just to get to where the water was. We found a different way the next day, but this day we just walked until we got to the sand. And what happened was I put the towels down and we went to sit down, and I'm like, I looked at my son and I go, I don't know if I want to take my t-shirt off. And he goes, what, Mom? Now my son's 24 years old. He's been with me through this whole thing. He's like, what, Mom? Why? I go, I don't know. I don't know if I want anybody to see me in my bag. And he's like, Mom, why not? It's just a bag. Remember, you've done this, basically, is what he was saying to me. You've done this. Like, stop doing that. And all of a sudden, it was that voice in my head. I was like, oh my gosh, why is that voice in my head telling me of shame, being ashamed, or not wanting somebody to see me in my bag while I'm lying on the beach? And then it was that clear passage of going, you know what, LeeAnne, you've done this before. What is this all about? So it was an insecure that's still there, that just crept up and just kind of surprised me, definitely. So what did I do? I'm like, you know what, Bobby, you're right. Thank you for saying that. And I took off my t-shirt, my shorts, and laid there in the sun in my bathing suit with my bag. Nobody said anything. Nobody noticed. Nobody really even cared. But the surprising part to me was it was still there in the back of my head, and I didn't realize it. And I know you guys must feel those moments yourselves when you're trying to go and do something and you don't want someone to notice that you're in the bag, or that feel of shame or insecurity that kind of can creep up every once in a while. It's very, very normal. But the best thing we can do is recognize it, right? So with my son going, why, Mom? I thought about that. And then I started to think about, would I go to the beach by myself? Now, mind you, I've been to the beach before, but I usually go with a bunch of other people. I've been to the beach one other time by myself in a one-piece bathing suit. And I started to think, would I go to the beach by myself with my bag cover? I know I will. But will that voice creep up? Do I have to be aware of that voice creeping up in my head in order for me to acknowledge that it's just the voice in my head and nobody really cares? So when you find yourself in those kinds of situations, and guys, don't mind the birds. If you guys find yourselves in those kinds of situations, just know it's just the voice in your head. Nobody really cares. Like, nobody cares. And we need to own that voice, tell it to shut up, tell it to get away. It's not our reality, and we need to lay there in our bathing suits and get the sun and do what we need to do. So that was one thing that happened that I really realized during this vacation. And then the second thing that actually happened to me yesterday. Now, guys, we're staying. We rented a house on a golf course because my husband loves to golf. So it's his jam. It's his thing. So we're staying here on a golf course, and I've been doing walks every morning. Well, there is an alligator. I'm just going to tell you. There is a gator. I've seen him. He's swimming in one of the little ponds. He'll pop his head up and just swim along. And I was like, okay, there's an alligator. I just need to be aware. So everybody down here says, just be aware that they're out there. And if he comes after you, just run as fast and as long as you possibly can. And that's how they live down here, right? With alligators. Anyways, so yesterday morning, I got up to go for a run, and I'm like, a couple of days prior to that, I'd had a few cocktails and, just dinner, and I ate foods that I usually don't eat. And that was 2 days prior. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to go for a run. I feel like running this morning. So I put on my stuff. I go running. I'm like, all right, if the alligator comes out, I'm already running. I'll just speed it up. Anyways, he didn't. He doesn't bother you. But so I'm going for my run. And all of a sudden, I felt my bowels move, right? I started feeling my bowels move. I started feeling my bag just start to fill up. And I was like, in my run, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's starting to get heavy. It's starting to get heavy on my stomach. And I'm like, you know what, LeeAnne? And I was halfway done. I'm like, if you keep running, you'll get home sooner and you can change your bag. So I continued my run instead of just slowing down and walking, because then that would have just taken me longer to get back, right? So I'm just running, but I'm running with this bag full of poop because my bowels just relaxed, I guess. The run just relaxed me, and it just came out. So I get home. My husband looks at me and goes, what? You've got a belly going on. I go, babe, the bag filled up. He goes, you were pooping while you were running? I guess it's still shocking to him too, some things that happen. I go, yeah, I was pooping while I was running. My bowels must have relaxed through the run, and yeah, I did. And he goes, and you ran with it? I go, well, what else am I going to do? You got to do what you got to do. And I was in my run. So so that happened, guys, right? So we got to acknowledge that these are some of the things. But what do we do, right? What do we do mentally what do we do mentally over it, right? Like, who cares? So those are two things that happened to me on this trip. I had some insecurities about my bag. I know you guys feel those. I know you guys feel those insecurities. And again, what can we do to stop those insecurities? What can we do to keep going instead of, right? Like, to do it instead of, right? To walk through that fear instead of. Because when I was on my run yesterday, of course I was worried. Like, what if the bag, I had tight shorts on, so I know it would hold it all together. But I was like, what if the bag comes apart? What if I'm in this run and out, everything just falls apart? And those are some of the things, right? And we just got to push through those. So how do we do it? One, we acknowledge, right? We acknowledge the thoughts that are in our head. And we say, okay, I hear you voice, right? I hear you bully voice that's in my head trying to make me feel less than, because we all have those thoughts. I feel you. I hear you. And I'm going to acknowledge that it's you saying it and it's not true. And I'm going to do this anyway. And we step through that voice in our head, right? We tell that voice in our head to calm down, to quiet down. It has no place in our life, right? That's the first thing to acknowledge. The second thing to acknowledge is to do it in spite of, right? Like I said, in the middle of a run, what were my choices, right? To stop and walk, take me longer or to continue my run, knowing that I was okay, right? Knowing that everything was okay. Or, right, if it was a real bad situation, because this wasn't a huge bad situation, it was quite a bit there, but not terrible situation, run into a McDonald's bathroom and empty the bag and put it back on, right? Like that could have been another option for me if it was a bad situation. But knowing that, is it going to slow you down? Is it going to stop you from doing what you're doing? Or are you going to keep going, right? Are you going to keep going? Are you going to let your voice or a situation stop you from doing something? And my message to you this week is don't let it stop you from doing something. Continue on, push yourself through it. You can do this. You know, our lives are not normal, right? It's our normal. It's our normal. And most of us, most days, we have beautiful days. We love our bags. We go on, I don't know about you, but I forget that I even have a bag most days, right? But we're going to have to acknowledge that every once in a while, regardless of how long you've had it, how long you haven't had it, we may have our moments that we need to acknowledge and move forward. So let's all acknowledge and move forward through those moments. Stand with each other. I knew I could share these stories with you guys. I appreciate you. I love you. I'm going to continue on my little vacation, and we will get back to all the lovely interviews and everything else starting next week. All right. We'll talk to you guys soon. Love you all.